in Motion or have experience with them in the past, we would love to know that. You can throw a note in the chat and let us know if you've ever participated in a concert with Concerts in Motion, or if you know about the organization. It might be really nice for us to know that. So feel free to do that, and we'd love to read that in the chat feature, which is on the bottom of your panel. Jennifer, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spend too much time, be a little late. So I think I'd just like to welcome you, and I'm here today joined by Jennifer Finn, who is the founder and executive director of Concerts in Motion. And my name is Lauren Dickel. For most of you who don't know me, I am a program manager at Central Synagogue, and I am really thrilled to have this conversation with Jennifer today, because it lies directly within my interests areas. And yeah, Jennifer, we're just really lucky to have you here. And I think a lot of our members and community don't know about the amazing work that you do, or that you're actually involved with our members at Central Synagogue and how you've touched many people's lives. And I'm really excited to hear from you today about that. And I think everybody who's joined us is excited about that also. But for those of you who don't know Jennifer, I have a quick sort of bio I'll share with you. I'm sure she'll tell you a little bit more about herself too. But in addition to being the founder and executive director for Concerts in Motion, Jennifer is a very accomplished coloratura soprano, and has had a very interesting career, I think, and I want to learn more about it, before starting Concerts in Motion almost 10 years ago. And she's also an accomplished music teacher and has done many amazing things within our city, serving those who are in vulnerable situations before Concerts in Motion and obviously during. So we're really excited to have you join us today and tell us a little bit more about Concerts in Motion. And I think with that, I'm just going to go ahead and ask you my first question instead of reading people the mission statement of Concerts in Motion. What can you tell us a little bit more about Concerts in Motion, where it is, how you operate in the city, and who you serve?
Great, thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say hello to all of you members of Central Synagogue. We are so honored and privileged to be here. It's such a wonderful opportunity for us. And Lauren, you've been a dream to work with, so thank you. Concerts in Motion is a not-for-profit organization. We bring music concerts to isolated New York City residents. The way we began was we started serving people in their homes, people who are frail, so mostly older adults who were frail and isolated in their homes. And that was really the soul of our work. And then as we grew, we started serving veterans, hospitalized patients. We serve people who are aging with developmental disability. And we serve all kinds of people who are in shelters, many of whom who are experiencing severe mental illness, food insecurity, and housing insecurity. So we serve 85 agencies citywide. JBFCS is one of them. We serve their supportive housing program, but we also serve DeRote, Self-Help Holocaust Survivor Program, and Mount Sinai Visiting Doctors Program. So before the pandemic, we were presenting 1,200 concerts a year. And we do this by presenting some musicians that you're going to get to hear today, top professional musicians from across the city who represent 16 different genres of music and speak 17 different languages, because we serve mostly low-income immigrant communities, because that is who our city is, a lot of them. And on the other side, we have a terrific youth program. So concerts also feature really talented students who are studying music, and we create an opportunity for them to engage with very isolated residents, some people who are much older than they are. So there's an intergenerational component. And so it's meaningful for everyone, the professionals, the students, and those on the receiving end.
Wow. So can you tell us a little bit more about how the concerts typically work there? I know that sometimes they're in people's living rooms or in their homes, and sometimes they're in community centers in the city. And sort of in what capacity have you had concerts with Central Synagogue and our members?
Yeah, so our concerts happen in all of the above scenarios when we don't have a pandemic going on. We are serving, we serve the Chinese community in tenement apartments. We have Chinese musicians that walk into a very tough housing situation. Many of those residents are homebound because they can't navigate staircases that are quite steep and elevators that are often misfunctioning. We serve people in senior centers. We serve almost every NORC in the city. For you members who know about the naturally occurring retirement community system of New York City, it's the city's way of dealing with an aging city, aging population. So we have a partnership with the Department for the Aging to bring cultural resources to those NORCs. So in those settings, we get to serve the center and also residents who can't get to the concert. So we're also in hospital settings. We serve palliative care floors of Mount Sinai Hospital, which is really tough because these are very challenging situations. Fortunately, the musician who you'll hear a little later on is like a superstar over there. They love her. So you'll get the benefit of hearing Teresa Payne. So yeah.
Amazing. And then at Central Synagogue, I know that you've worked with our social worker, Jackie Pycon, and Rabbi Mo Salth. And I don't know if you can speak a little bit about your experience with Central so far. And I want everyone here who's from Central Synagogue to know that we have this amazing partnership with you and that it's a resource. And we'll be emailing people afterwards and letting them know how they can learn more and get involved. But I think it's something that's gone sort of under the radar. So if you could talk a little bit to that, that would be great.
Yeah, this is like an amazing moment for us as an organization. This very opportunity to speak to the Central members about our work with Central. Historically, our organization has been very modest in our approach. We haven't been very, we're not a showy group. We're very focused on high quality. And we're really grateful that we spent the last 10 years focused that way, because when I got to meet Rabbi Salth, I was able to explain to him what it is we do and how we might be able to help older members of their community with something really special, something very high quality, and something at the request of their members. So the way the partnership works is we work with Jackie, who is a representative of DeRote. DeRote was our second agency partner, so it was such an easy fit together. And Jackie identifies members who are quite frail, who would benefit from a music visit. And then we send musicians to serve your members. And this is done very quietly with a lot of care for their privacy as well. But just to have the opportunity to let you all know that this has been going on for several years is very meaningful to us.
That's really, I think it's really amazing. I was very touched and excited when I first heard about this program. Also as a musician, I just felt like it was bringing my two worlds together, working at Central and my love for classical music. So yeah, I'm very, very touched that we have that partnership with you, and we're very lucky. And I'm curious, as a musician myself, like how did you transition into this field and starting Concerts in Motion from singing on opera stages across Europe and the United States? What was the spark? What was the light bulb moment for you?
It happened over a period of time. I did what many of my colleagues do when they have a new role before they have to go before a new conductor. They go to a nursing home. In my case, I went to nursing homes and veterans hospitals, and I performed the role off book for that audience. So my particular voice type, or fach, is quite complex. And so I sing things like Serbinetta, roles that are like really nutty. But for opera lovers, it's so much fun to probably have a singer come in and say, okay, I'm doing this in Germany in 2 weeks. I need to run this for you. And so, so those experiences left me feeling like so much joy. I can't even kind of put it in words. It just felt like something so extraordinary for me that it was actually life-changing for me, not just singing for these wonderful people, but also talking to them and seeing how much they really needed that engagement. And so So from there, what I did was I invited, at the time I had a small music studio. I taught private voice lessons. And I thought, well, let me invite my students to do this too, because I want to see if they have the same response that I had. And so I basically said to them, okay, instead of our scary formal spring concert in that church that we always do it in for your parents, how about we invite your parents to a nursing home and we do our concert there for the residents? And so we did it. It went so well. And then, after the concert, the students, I polled, I surveyed them after, and all of them said they felt like they could perform easier. They felt like they made a difference, and that they felt like it was important for their parents to see them from this perspective, sharing their music. Yeah. So, and from there, Concerts in Motion was kind of, it was sort of born from there.
Wow. That's really amazing. I'm wondering how the pandemic has changed how you're working instead of going in people's homes. I know we've all transitioned to this new virtual world, which has been challenging and fun and creative, but I wonder how has that been for you to reach new audiences maybe, or has it limited your work at all? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I'm very happy to share that this has been an enormously beneficial opportunity for us. We have made some very good lemonade out of this situation. We now serve between 700 and 800 people a week, probably twice the number of people we were serving before. We have an incredible staff team. And so when the pandemic began, the first thing we did was we tried to understand our roster and if they understood Zoom and how it works, and quickly realized most of them have no idea. So Teresa, who you will hear shortly, is not only a wonderful musician, but she's an incredible trainer and incredibly knowledgeable about Zoom. She was fluent on the platform. So for about 4 weeks, we did every day, we did trainings with our roster. Our roster is 112 musicians, 60 of them have trained. So they had a 5-step process. Our students have a mandatory training on Zoom every week before they can perform. And we were able to successfully reach every single one of our agencies, plus Mount Sinai Hospital, for an example. We were only in 2 locations in person every week to serve their palliative care floors. And now, thanks to the patient reps and some very motivated higher up administrators over there, we serve the entire hospital system with our program. We do 24 concerts a week. They are organized by genre and language. So we even have concerts led in Chinese, Russian, and Spanish to serve those communities. So another example is we were serving JASA. JASA is a known agency probably to some of your members. We serve most of their NORCs, probably half of their NORCs, and maybe 1 or 2 centers. Now we serve all 22 centers and every single one of their NORCs, and they organize by borough. So we literally have, the Bronx, JASA, senior centers on one call. And JASA was such an instrumental partner because we reached out to them at the very beginning, very focused on being able to serve low-income residents who might have issues with technology. And so we chose Zoom conscientiously because people can call or they can video in, as you probably know so well. So like, for example, yesterday we had a concert in Chinese. We had a Cantonese translator because most of our musicians speak Mandarin. We had Village View and Neighborhood NORC both on the call. We were serving probably 50 Chinese residents on that call, and many of them are being conferenced in. So we can see like 20 participants, but one of those participants can conference in many, many, many different people. So for us, this has been a huge opportunity. It's kind of like for 10 years, we were working really hard to make something really good and really high quality. And now in this moment, we are able to open the doors and help people in a really important way.
Wow. Yeah. Someone sent us a chat and I just want to read it. I think they've been touched and they're also touched hearing your story here. Jan says that Concerts in Motion is such a great gift to the senior population, and congratulations on touching so many people who really need the healing effects of music. So Yeah. That's really incredible. So how many concerts are you doing a week right now?
We do 24.
Okay.
And then sometimes we do we're going to be starting a project with DeRote to serve Holocaust survivors. So they'll have, that'll be in addition. We're also going to be shortly serving networks of the UJA Federation network through a grant that we just won to serve Holocaust survivors. We'll have our entire staff team is going to take something called person-centered trauma-informed care. This is an approach to care that has been kind of, to me, it's like the legacy of the survivors. It's such a beautiful gift because we can learn from them how to serve them. And then we can take that approach and we can take that lens and we can apply it to the rest of the city and also the Asian population who had their own form of trauma at that time in history. But essentially the whole city now is experiencing a trauma. So we're really excited to train our staff, our musicians, our students in this approach. And that care approach training will be led by Self-Help, another really valued partner.
Wow. Before we move over to listen to some beautiful music, I was thinking about that right now. And just something you mentioned earlier to me about how you're an arts organization, but you're also a social services organization, and you're straddling these two worlds. But I think it's really, I think it's really beautiful at this time. So many musicians also don't have work, but that they can use their skills and their talents to do something that's healing and powerful for our community that's really, suffering right now in this trauma. It's really beautiful. And I think you're filling this very interesting gap between the arts world and then social services. And I often, I always think of the arts as healing and serving communities, but I feel like the way Concerts in Motion is working, it's taking those two and really putting it together in an organized way. I think it's really wonderful. So thank you for doing that for our community.
Thank you.
And I think it's time now to let our viewers who are here with us on the webinar, and also to those of you who are watching on Facebook, hello. We're going to transition over, I think, to hearing a little bit of a concert, so you get a taste of what it might feel like to either have a virtual Concerts in Motion experience or an in-person one. And I'm going to go ahead and let Jennifer introduce our musicians today.
Great. I'll introduce our first musician is a professional musician on our roster, Teresa Payne. She is a cherished member of our roster. As I mentioned, she trained our entire group of musicians, many of whom were going through some seriously challenging times and continue to do so. Our musicians are our employees. We pay them to perform in our work, and we're so grateful to be able to do that. Teresa is also a world flute player and one of the few people in the world who's able to play in the Lion King pit. So we're really, amongst other accolades, I always just love to lead with that because everybody can identify. But anyway, I just want to say anything else, but I'll let Teresa take it away.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you, Lauren, and everyone for being here. What a wonderful hour of music and of this wonderful organization of Concerts in Motion. I've been so blessed to work for them for about 6 years. And as Jennifer so wonderfully put it, this last 3 months has been so difficult for people, but this has been really a saving lifeline for me. I know we're bringing the music out and we're supposed to be healing other people, but this has healed me too, and it goes both ways. So this music's been a wonderful round version of love going back and forth between the music to you and back to us. So thank you again for being here. Well, I'm a flutist. I'm also a world flutist. I play flutes from all over the world, and I've had a wonderfully varied career that I've played in symphony orchestras, I've played on Broadway, I play with the Temptations, I play with Johnny Mathis. So I have a lot of different genres in my belt. And so I love taking that out when I go to Concerts in Motion and get to share all those different styles, because different styles of music speak to different people and speak to different moods that we're in. And so it's really wonderful to get to experience that and see what different people like and what they respond to. So the first thing I'd like to start with is where my love started, was flute. And I was at first a classical flutist and played in an orchestra. So I'd like to play you a little Bach. This is the Sicilian from a Bach flute sonata. Thank you. So this is the flute that we all know and love, the Western flute or the silver flute, the Bame flute. It has many different names. And this is the current version of the flute. But the flute has been found on every continent of the world. It's been around for a very long time. It's the second oldest instrument. So after cavemen started picking up things and banging on them to make the first drums, they heard the wind whistling over old bird bones out on the prairie, and they heard this whistling sound that went through them, and they thought, music. So they started picking up these bones and cutting holes into them to make the first flute a very, very long time ago. In fact, the oldest flute that we know of has been dated back 43,000 years. So they've really been around for a very long time in several different cultures. And because of that, flutes look and sound different depending on where they're from. But almost every culture has flutes of some sort. So I'd like to share a couple of these with you today. The first one is one that, as Jennifer said, I play in The Lion King, and we have 14 flutes from around the world in The Lion King. The reason is because they want you, the composers wanted to transport you to another world. And what a beautiful way to do it, through music. I've always said, you know, there are two ways to travel without leaving your living room, and that's through books or through music. And what a wonderful thing, especially right now while we're all stuck in our living rooms, that we get to travel through these wonderful art forms of reading and of music. So first of all, I'm going to help you travel to China, because this is a Chinese dizi. This is a Chinese flute that is made of bamboo. And it's a very colorful flute. As you can see, it has these colorful bindings, it's paintings on it, has a poem written on it, and it has, of course, this wonderful red tassel on the end. And the tassel is because the Chinese culture's belief is that music should be a feast for your eyes as well as your ears. So as you're listening to the music, you can watch the tassel dance and have that extra added sensory. This is also a special flute because it has an extra hole cut in between where you blow and where you put your fingers, and that hole is called a mokong, and its purpose is for a little tiny piece of rice paper to be pasted over it, and that paper vibrates as I blow through the instrument and gives it a very distinctive buzzing quality. This is the instrument that we hear in The Lion King whenever Nala is on stage. For anyone who knows The Lion King, Nala is the love interest of Simba, and they grew up together. So when we first see them, they're cubs. They've just been born, they're best friends, and we have this little tiny Ditsa that's about 5 inches long, and it has a very high-pitched sound, and that's Nala's voice. And then as she grows up, the Ditsa grows up with her, so the instrument gets bigger and larger and more mature sounding as she grows up and matures. So I'd like to play a Chinese folk song for you on the Ditsa. Chinese Ditsa. The next instrument I'm going to share with you is one that originated right here in this country, and this is the native flute, or the Native American flute. Now, the indigenous people of America all had these types of flutes, and they all look very similar, but the one that we know the best today is the Plains style flute. And the reason we like this one so well is because it has this extra thing on top called the fetish. Now, this fetish really has nothing to do with the sound. It's supposed to be in the shape of your spirit animal. So I've seen them carved into the shapes of turtles and bears and coyotes. And mine happens to be an eagle, and that's because the man who created these flutes for me said that my music flies like an eagle. So all of my flutes have eagles on them. Now, this is a very soft, soothing, meditative kind of sound. It's an instrument that a lot of people like to use for falling to sleep at night or meditating to, because it has that kind of wonderful sound. So I'd like to share a piece for you on the Native American flute called Nostalgic. the Native American flute. The next flute I'd like to share with you is different than all these flutes that I've shared so far. And that's because all of the flutes that you've seen so far have been long and skinny. So they're kind of the typical shape that you think of as a flute. But remember, flutes came about way before the internet and before phone calls, before being able to talk to other people and say, hey, what are you doing with your flute? And so they came about in different shapes and sizes, just like people come in different shapes and sizes and colors, and we all sound a little bit different, but we're all one, just like these flutes are all one. They're all flutes, and they all make such lovely music that we can communicate with. The flute I'm going to play next is the ocarina. Now this is a round kind of shape, and it's actually, the ocarina is a type of vessel flute. And vessel flutes can be anything that's kind of a round shape that can be hollowed out and holes cut into to make a flute. So these have been made out of coconuts and seed pods and jade and anything you can think of, horns, anything that can be hollowed out, cut holes into it, and make an instrument. Mine happens to be made out of clay, and this is a triple ocarina, so it means I have a lot of holes that I can choose to put my fingers on to play different notes, and I have 3 different chambers that I can blow into to make the notes higher or lower. So I jump around a lot when I'm playing this. Now this is an instrument that has been found on every single continent. So it sounds very different depending on what type or what style of music you're playing. If you are playing Celtic music, it's going to sound Celtic, it's going to sound Irish. If you're playing Middle Eastern music, it's going to sound Middle Eastern. But I'm going to play a piece today that's from South Africa, and this is a lovely lullaby from South Africa called Abiyoyo on the ocarina. The ocarina. And the last flute that I'm going to play for you today is another flute that came from every single continent. So this type of flute is found all over the world, and it's the pan flute. Now this is a flute that people all over the world, before the internet, before they could talk to each other, were thinking the same thing. They were picking up pieces of bamboo, and they thought, okay, if I blow across one piece of bamboo, it makes a sound. If I tie a bunch of these pipes together, I can have an instrument that plays a lot of different notes. So that's what they did, and throughout the world, these pan flutes came around that look very, very similar, even though they're coming from different cultures and different places. This particular pan flute is from Romania, and it has everything about it makes it so it's completely played very fast, very virtuosically. So there's a curve in the gluing of the pan flutes that matches the turning of my head as I'm playing. There's also a lot of movement with this instrument. So each tube plays one note, so it plays the white keys on the piano. But I can play the black keys as well by bending the instrument into me and changing the sound of that one tube. So on one tube, I can play 2 notes. So you're going to see a lot of motion, back and forth like this, and then also the shake in the sound, the vibrato, is created by moving the instrument. So that if you're singing ta and you add vibrato ta, you do that on the instrument as well. But instead of doing it with your air, you're going to do it by shaking the instrument. So you see see a lot of motion as I'm going to play this one for you. Before I play it, I have to say, this is one of my favorite flutes. I'm not supposed to have favorites, they're like my kids, but I do. This one's my favorite. Partly because this is the one that's Simba's instrument in The Lion King. So whenever Simba comes on stage, we get to hear this lovely instrument. And he's, of course, the main character. When we see him at the beginning in that iconic pose of Rafiki holding him up and presenting him to their entire herd and all the animals, we hear this little tiny pan flute that's about 5 inches long and sounds very high. And then again, like Nala's instrument, as he grew up, the pan flute grows up. And when he becomes king at the end and is very mature and taking over all of his subjects, we play a very large pan flute that sounds very mature like this one. So the other reason this is my favorite is because this is what I got to play on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So that was fun. So I'd like to play the pan flute for you, and this is a Romanian folk song. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed some of these flutes from all over the world, and I hope that we'll see you on a Concerts in Motion call in the future or in person that I can share some more. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for sharing this music with us. Jennifer, thank you again for inviting me to be a part of Concerts in Motion. This is such a special part of my life.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you. Thank you, Teresa. Lauren, would you like me to introduce the youth?
Yes, that would be great if we could introduce Leah and Lucas. That would be wonderful.
Great. You are all in for another terrific treat. Leah and Lucas Amory are siblings who perform in our outreach. Well, Lucas is soon going to be entering college next year, and maybe he can share with us where he's attending, but he just graduated Stuyvesant. And Leah is a student at LaGuardia, And you're not going to believe this, but her major is art. So once you hear her play the violin, you're going to scratch your heads. They come from a family of tremendous musicians. Both parents are incredible faculty at Curtis and Juilliard. So we feel so grateful to know their family. And one other trivial fact is Leah and Lucas were to perform at Carnegie Hall for our, what didn't happen this spring in person for an event for Concerts in Motion. So we're just so happy they can do this live for all of you.
So are we.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much for the introduction. Once again, thank you very much to Teresa for a really terrific performance. And I learned so much about culture from that. So today we're going to be performing two different pieces. First, we'll be playing the second movement of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto. And then after that, we're going to be moving to the first movement from Johannes Brahms's Third Violin Sonata in D minor. Really hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you on the other side. very much for listening to us.
Bravo! That was so beautiful, both of you, and also Teresa. It was really, really wonderful. I just wanted to read a comment that we got, a couple comments we got from our viewers. Ron just wanted to let us know. He said, lovely, lovely performance, Lucas and Leah. Good luck to both of your, oh, this was from Jan. Good luck to both of you and all of your artistic endeavors, musically or otherwise. You were both very talented. And Ron shared, I am sure you will be so kind to share the virtual bravos and standing ovations. Truly remarkable. What a late afternoon treat for the senses. Yes, very, very beautiful. Steve also says, beautiful, everyone. So we're so lucky that you joined us for this. This was really, really a treat to hear you. I wanted to make sure that I read you those. I am conscious of the time, so we're nearing the end of our scheduled time, but for those of you who would like to stay, we were just going to have a short conversation with Teresa and Lucas and Leah and Jennifer, just a little bit longer about their experience as musicians as part of the program. So feel free to stay and listen, and if you don't want to listen, that's okay. We're also recording this, so that is that. So I guess I would love to ask Teresa and Lucas and Leah, if you want to chime in, what's it been like for you to enter into these intimate moments with different communities or individual communities in their homes, or what has it been like as a musician, and how has it changed you as a person, as a musician? I think we'd love to hear that.
Well, for me, it's Concerts in Motion has brought out a part of my musicianship and my career that I really didn't even know existed. I started playing with Concerts in Motion about 6 years ago, and I've always, loved playing and loved music and loved performing, but I really didn't know where that passion was rooted, because yes, I love the music and I love the accolades and all of that part, but there was just, I couldn't quite verbalize what the real root of that passion was. And with Concerts in Motion, I've come to realize that it's the connection that we make through music that is really what drives me, because even before I started doing Concerts in Motion, when I was on stage performing, the audience is so far away, but yet you feed off of their energy and you give it back. And from that distance, that's a difficult thing to do. And I know we do it as artists, and that's part of what our art is, being on stage. But when we were able to go in and be one-on-one with a homebound patient, or standing in the outside the rooms of the palliative care at the hospital, and to be able to see and communicate and have those tears of joy and everything that's happening right there just feeds the soul. And I know the patients always tell me that we are healing for them, but it really goes both ways. And it's just wonderful, that circle that's created through that, and the communication that we're able to do. It's really changed my life.
Yeah, wow, that's really beautiful. Lucas and Leah, you're a little bit younger than us, but I wonder what it's been like for you, performing for various groups or individuals.
Yeah, to add on to Teresa, it's been so wonderful when it's not necessarily possible to communicate through words with these people, but how communicating through music actually brings even more of a sense of connection in a way than words ever really could. So even if you're not getting to know them, like, you kind of are getting to know them, like another side of them that reacts to our music, and that's really wonderful to see.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah. I don't know if any of you have any particular memories or something that's really stuck out from you that you feel like sharing. If not, that's okay too.
Well, to add to what Leah said, that sometimes we don't even speak the same language as the person that we're playing for, and it really just, it doesn't matter, because the music speaks for itself, and you can see from the smiles and the tapping of the toes and the eye, just even the eye movement, how much it's enjoyed and how meaningful it is. And to be able to go in and do that and be in such an an intimate spot. I mean, you're being invited into people's homes and then sometimes into their bedside, you know, to give this gift to them. It's really, really a beautiful thing. And I know there's so many moments. Jennifer was talking earlier about how when she was going out and singing for these veterans homes and in retirement homes, and kind of dreamed up this amazing idea of Concerts in Motion, that she would go out afterwards and just sit and realize how wonderful it was. And I really understand that. That resonated with me, because every time I get done with an in-person Concerts in Motion, I would go to the bus stop or to get on the train of wherever I was coming home from, and I would literally sit there and sometimes let a couple buses go by because I was just enjoying moving it was, and how it's not the same as the applause of giving a concert, you know, in Carnegie Hall. That's wonderful, but this is your soul that it soothes, and it's just wonderful feeling. So every time we go out, it makes me feel like my music is very important and doing something.
I think that is so beautiful, and there was a quote that I kept thinking about when we were getting ready to speak with you guys, and what you've said really resonates with that, and I would just love to speak it. It's actually something that the American painter Robert Motherwell said in 1970 when he was testifying before Congress in support of the Environmental Quality Education Act. But what he said was, "I speak only as an artist, but to speak as an artist is no small thing. Most people ignorantly suppose that artists are the decorators of our human existence, the aesthetics to whom the cultivated turn when the real business of the day is done. But actually, what an artist is a person skilled in expressing human feeling. Far from being merely decorative, the artist's awareness is one of the few guardians of the inherent sanity and equilibrium of the human spirit that we have." And what you said really resonated with that. And just the work that you do all together as an organization, it's really beautiful. And I think it's very grounding and meaningful and impactful, especially in this time when there's so much sort of darkness in the world, but that we can connect through often wordless sounds, really deep in the soul. It's really, really wonderful. And I'm just so thankful that we got to learn from you today, hear from you, hear your music, and hear your story. And I hope that we can continue to hear that. So for those of you that, you know, want to learn more about Concerts in Motion, want to get involved, we will send an email out to the attendees today and give you information about how you can do that. And I just want to thank everyone here. Jennifer, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and have this conversation with me and with our community. I know we haven't really had time for questions from our audience, so if there are any questions that are burning from our audience members, throw them in the chat. If not, I have a feeling that our friends at Concerts in Motion will be more than happy to have a conversation with you at some point beyond this webinar today. So.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's such a blessing for us to get to do this. Thank you.
You're very welcome. We are very lucky to have you here. So we're getting a lot of thank yous in our chat box. I'm checking the chat box over here to see. Yes, I think people are very excited about the work you do. So yes, and we will put up the video. Oh no, Jake. We're gonna send everyone who attended today a short video that Concerts in Motion has made about their virtual visiting series, and we'll tell you a little bit more about how you can actually join concerts. So that'll be coming your way sometime, probably tomorrow. Okay, well, with that, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Leah. Thank you, Lucas, Teresa, Jennifer, Jake, and all of my colleagues who are helping make all of these tech things work. We're happy you joined us, and I wish everybody a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.